Wir betrachten Europa oft zu einseitig. Wir denken an das Europa der Städte, der Grenzen und der Wirtschaft, an das Europa der Menschen. Versuchen wir doch mal die Perspektive zu wechseln und entdecken einen Kontinent voller natürlicher und vielfältiger Ökosysteme, die einst so groß waren, dass sie ganz Europa bedeckten. Von den Tiefen der Meerenge von Messina bis zu den Sumpfgebieten der Donau und den jahrtausendealten borealen Wäldern. Übrig sind davon nur noch Bruchteile, vereinzelte Inseln. Das, was vom einstigen Reichtum an Lebensräumen des Kontinents übrig geblieben ist. Noch hat Europa die Chance, diese isolierten Teilstücke als Grundlage zu nehmen, indem es beschließt, sie untereinander wieder zu verbinden. Durch ökologische Korridore, Milliarden von neu gepflanzten Bäumen, die Schaffung neuer Grünland- und Sumpfgebiete, allein zum Nutzen der Flora, der Fauna und der biologischen Vielfalt. Eine Maßnahme, die auch den Klimawandel bremsen oder gar aufhalten könnte, genau wie das Verschwinden der Biodiversität, wenn sie auch auf anderen Kontinenten umgesetzt würde. Europa muss als Beispiel vorangehen und dem Rest der Welt den Weg aufzeigen. Das ist unsere Reise von Süden nach Norden durch unser Europa der Lebensräume. Wir werden entlang 6 dieser Inseln reisen, um zu zeigen, wie ein großer grüner Faden sie miteinander verbinden und erweitern könnte. Wie wir eine Barriere schaffen könnten, um die ökologische Apokalypse aufzuhalten, die vor unseren Toren steht. Noch können wir es schaffen. Dazu bedarf es jedoch einer gemeinsamen Anstrengung aller Menschen, eines Bewusstseins, dass angesichts des Verschwindens natürlicher Lebensräume die bedrohte Art nun wir sind. Die Reise von Habitat beginnt im Aspromonte-Gebirge, an der südlichen Grenze Europas. Es ist ein Ort, der die ganze Seele der europäischen Ökosysteme in sich trägt. Er birgt die ganze Vielfalt, ihre Verbindung untereinander, ihren Wert und ihre Zerbrechlichkeit. Der Aspromonte beginnt unter Wasser, wo die von den Mündungen der Flüsse, die vom Berggipfel hinabfließen, ausgehöhlten Ebenen auf die Tiefen der Meerenge von Messina treffen. Es gibt hier jedoch nicht nur mediterrane Lebensräume, wie wir sie kennen, sondern auch einzigartige Naturräume, wie die Torfmoore, Buchen- und Weißtannenwälder, Ökosysteme, die zu Nordeuropa zu gehören scheinen. Es ist ein ebenso kostbares wie bedrohtes Gebiet, in den letzten Jahren von Bränden verwüstet, die sogar die jahrtausendealten Wälder und UNESCO-Welterbestätten erreicht haben. Wir müssen diese Bedrohungen so schnell wie möglich stoppen. Die Veränderung des Gebiets durch unerlaubtes Bauen, Wilderei, das Verwaisen von Orten. Denn eine Reise durch den Aspromonte ist so, als würde man die Lebensräume ganz Europas in nur wenigen Kilometern durchqueren. Im Grunde ist es der perfekte Auftakt einer Reise, die uns bis zu den Toren der Arktis führen wird.
Partendo dalla costa alla montagna, infatti gli habitat sono molto vari. Non dimentichiamo che l'Aspromonte nasce dal mare e naturalmente ha un intimo, diciamo così, legame col mare stesso, con i fondali marini, dove, quasi come fosse un effetto specchio, possiamo definire così, l'estrema biodiversità che troviamo in terra la troviamo anche sott'acqua.
Iniziamo dalla fine, sì, che poi è anche un po' l'inizio di un ipotetico viaggio dalla foce della fiumara Mendolea, dove ci troviamo adesso, ripercorrendola un po' a ritroso verso monte, arrivando poi alla fine del viaggio che è in Montalto, dove in realtà invece si trovano le sorgenti della fiumara Mendolea. Un luogo molto interessante, la fiumara, perché sono dei luoghi iconici della costa ionica reggina. E risalendo attraversano tutti gli habitat di particolare interesse per l'Aspromonte. Ripercorrerle rappresenta così uno spaccato dell'intero Aspromonte. quando piove, quando ci sono le alluvioni o comunque precipitazioni molto abbondanti, fa paura perché praticamente si riempie tutta, quindi l'acqua scende molto velocemente, c'è un rumore davvero, un frastuono quasi preoccupante e praticamente l'acqua copre quasi tutto l'alveo. Quello è un uliveto da 15.000 piante, ma lì se la fiumara fa il suo dovere, come è successo qualche volta, l'acqua gli entra là dentro, perché quella è una sorta di cassa di espansione naturale della fiumara, quello è alveo, solo che lì è stato occupato semplicemente da colture intensive di uliveto. L'uomo che si appropria dei luoghi non suoi, confidando nella buona sorte sostanzialmente. Locudi è uno dei paesi, dei borghi fantasma più emblematici dell'Aspromonte. Locudi è famoso nel mondo ornitologico e del birdwatch per ospitare una delle colonie, diciamo, più numerose di rondine rossiccia a livello italiano, e quindi all'interno di queste case loro scelgono i loro siti di riproduzione e creano questi fantastici nidi che hanno una forma molto strana, che adesso cerchiamo di scovare in realtà. Le rondini preferiscono fare i nidi sempre perché quasi sono. La preservazione di questi ruderi ormai è fondamentale per la rondine rossiccia. Qua trovano l'ambiente ideale, siti di alimentazione, siti di nidificazione, e quindi ogni anno ritornano. Spesso tu non hai un rapporto intimo con la montagna come lo avevano magari gli aspromontani di un tempo. Oggi arrivi da ovunque, arrivi da Reggio Calabria a fare una passeggiata, in un'ora e mezza sei qua, se sei un malintenzionato appicchi il fuoco, te ne vai, e tanto per te quello non conta nulla, il bosco per te non conta nulla. Direi più che altro che ormai l'uomo ha perso il contatto con la natura. Perdendo il contatto con la natura, in senso generale in questo caso, non senti più quasi il bisogno di proteggere gli ambienti naturali. Si brucia il bosco di Pesdavoli, si brucia i querceti millenari della Valle Infernale, non ti importa quasi nulla. Siamo in pochi ormai ad avere a cuore questo tipo di ambiente e questo tipo di habitat, e penso sia arrivato ormai il momento di ritornare a dare un poco all'ambiente, e questo si può fare prendendosi cura di questi posti, altrimenti non rimarrà nulla. Siamo arrivati in cima, quindi ci troviamo proprio nella punta più alta di questa ipotetica piramide che è l'Aspromonte, che dal mare sale su fino ai 2000 metri quasi. Sotto di noi ci sono le sorgenti della fiumara Mendolea. Questa parte stessa può essere considerata come un balcone sullo stretto, dove attualmente è in atto uno dei fenomeni più spettacolari che la natura ci offre ogni anno, che è quella della migrazione degli uccelli veleggiatori in realtà. Quindi i più famosi falchi pecchiaioli, più famosi rapaci, ma anche delle cicogne. E da qui, da queste parti qua, esattamente il flusso migratorio passa, attraversa lo stretto di Messina, costeggia l'area di Montalto, quindi la zona tirrenica, e gli uccelli proseguono verso nord. E di qua, durante la migrazione primaverile, passano dai 30 ai 50.000 rapaci sostanzialmente. Parliamo di una delle porte dell'Europa in realtà. Lo stretto di Messina rappresenta una delle vie principali per questi uccelli per raggiungere l'Europa in primavera o in autunno raggiungere l'Africa.
Den Aspromonte zu retten, bedeutet auch seine Verbindung mit allen anderen Lebensräumen Europas wiederherzustellen. Dieser grüne Faden, der sich durch die gesamten Apenninen zieht, Wälder, Flüsse und Felder verbindet und eine Brücke zwischen mediterranen Lebensräumen und denen im Gebirge darstellt. Ein Faden, der viel zu häufig unterbrochen wird von Infrastruktur, städtischen Gebieten und Kahlschlägen in den Korridoren, die wir nur durch Wiederaufforstung, Renaturierung und Grünbrücken sanieren können. In manchen Gegenden ist diese Herausforderung noch viel wichtiger. Das Dreiländereck in den Ostalpen zwischen Italien, Slowenien und Österreich ist ein Knotenpunkt für Arten aus ganz Europa. Es ist auch der Schauplatz einer unerwarteten Rückkehr. Die der großen Fleischfresser, Bär, Luchs, Wolf und Goldschakal, die hier Gebiete zurückerobern, die sie zum Teil vor Jahrhunderten verloren hatten. Sie überqueren die Alpen ohne Rücksicht auf politische Grenzen, aber sie machen Halt vor Autobahnen, Städten und Industriegebieten, die für sie oft unüberwindbare Grenzen sind. Baut der Mensch sie weiter in dem Tempo aus wie bisher, werden sie dazu führen, dass wir unsere letzte Chance für die Rückkehr der großen Fleischfresser verpassen. Die Verbindung der Lebensräume unter sich ist deshalb eine absolute Notwendigkeit.
The goal of wolf howling, we try to count and get the image how much wolves are there, where they are. We are currently monitoring three of the quite rare species here, so lynx, wolf and bear. Large carnivores are actually one of the great regulators. This is why it's so important that we keep them in the ecosystem, especially in that kind of ecosystem that they played a big role in the last thousands of years, and I'm sure they need to stay there and keep that role, because otherwise it could break. In this area, we are intensely monitoring the packs. Just 10 years of good conservational strategies are already showing, and in Slovenia, for example, and also Italy. In 2010, we detected about 30 to 40 individuals in Slovenia. And in just 10 years, that population's size grow was about 3 times or 4 times. What happened now, we were just checking our photo trap here that we have set for the wolves, for the capturing of the wolves. And we detected one of the rare bears that are moving here in the Jelovica plateau. In Slovenia we have quite big densities of bears in the south. The bears started to disperse into the new habitats that are here in the Alps, and the bears will start to disperse to other areas too, as well as Italy or Austria. So what happened here, videotaped one of the few lynxes actually in Slovenia, and especially in the Alps. We are happy to see that he's okay and doing fine. A lot of suitable habitat for lynxes were destroyed or maybe disconnected. Now we can see some of the subpopulations that began to shrink a lot, and the biggest reason for that is, of course, human impact. One of the biggest problems in the expansion of the population are the barriers that are created by us, and especially roads, high roads, railways, industrial side. So it's the problem that we need to solve somehow. This is one quite simple resolution right now, that we connect those that have habitats that were used to be connected. So it's very important that we don't hold it right now, so that in the next 10 years maybe it doesn't go very wrong.
Ökodukte, Wiederaufforstung und Schutz von Lebensräumen sind der Schlüssel für den Erhalt der großen Fleischfresser und ihrer Ökosysteme. Weiter im Norden ändert sich die Situation jedoch. Die Berge werden kleiner und enden dann. Der Lebensraum Wald verändert sich immer weiter, bis wir zu einem der Symbole Europas gelangen, zur Donau. Einer der komplexesten und vielfältigsten Flüsse der Welt in Bezug auf Morphologie, Vielfalt der Lebensräume und Biodiversität. Hier und da hat der Fluss seine wilde und ungezügelte Natur behalten, die seinen Lauf bis vor 2 oder 3 Jahrhunderten prägte. Sümpfe, vor saisonalen Überschwemmungen geschützte Inseln, sandige Schleifen und Auen. Sie steht aber auch für die Bedrohungen, denen alle Flussläufe im Laufe der Zeit ausgesetzt waren. Der Bau von Staudämmen, künstlichen Veränderungen des Flusslaufs, Regulierung und Anthropisierung haben zum Verschwinden der heute so seltenen Sumpfgebiete und ihrer unschätzbaren Artenvielfalt geführt. Der Vorstellung, dass die Donau eine unerschöpfliche Ressource für den Menschen ist, muss daher ein Ende gemacht werden, um ihre zerbrechliche Natur zu schützen. Wunderschöne wilde Seele.
Diversity of life requires diversity of environments. So it's not the same having a fast-flowing river to having a slower flowing sidearm, to having a still wetland somewhere where amphibians can be, where storks can hunt. We can still find beautiful areas along the river, such as floodplain forests, sidearms, and small wetlands, larger wetlands, as we go further south. This river dynamics is not happening anymore because of regulation, damming of the river. But there are certain areas that we can still kind of help them to come alive again. So wetlands and wetland ecosystems all over the world are one of the most threatened ones. People have the tendency to drain them, turn them into agricultural land. And this is really are becoming one of the most precious ecosystems. And so that the species that are dependent on wetlands are also becoming really rare. We are standing in the Danube Inland Delta. It's a system of riverside arms and wetlands that the Danube once created before it was regulated. This is the area that was preserved until today. If you look a little bit, then and walk, they are moving everywhere. Yeah. Because it's so beautiful. They just hatched recently, so they are. If we want to revive it, we need to bring back water to the system. It's the main element that has created these ecosystems, and is the main element that the species living here are adapted to and that they need. But water has been lacking from this area for a long time, and the whole ecosystem is drying out and is really suffering. In the past, before the construction of the river dam and before regulations, the Danube would bring 3,000 cubic meters of water per second and even more in certain areas, and would feed this whole area. And now 90% of this water is being taken away by an artificial channel. So here only 30 cubic meters of water are being let. We're on a river island that was created by the Danube River, and it is one of the largest islands that we can still find on the Slovakian part of the Danube River. It was regularly flooded, and this is probably what saved this island as well. This is an area that is really heavily farmed, and intensive agriculture is really bad for biodiversity. So this island provides one of the last really big refuges for biodiversity. It used to be a really wild area here before the regulation. I can't even imagine myself how it must have looked like, but I'd like to see the Danube more free. And I'd like if we didn't just look at it as a water highway, but really a living ecosystem. We can definitely find a compromise and find places where it is really not necessary to have the river under so much control.
Die Donau zu schützen bedeutet, auf Infrastrukturen zu verzichten, die gerade gebaut werden, und die Auswirkungen schon bestehender Bauten zu reduzieren. Vor allem eine gemischte und nachhaltige Nutzung der Wasserressourcen, bei der die Nutzung für Naturräume und solche für den menschlichen Gebrauch gerecht aufgeteilt wird. Weiter Richtung Norden weist diese Aufteilung noch andere Merkmale auf. Die Ökosysteme Zentraleuropas, die einst von einem riesigen zusammenhängenden Wald geprägt waren, bestehen heute nur noch aus einzelnen Inseln, die von Industrieflächen, Städten und der Infrastruktur umgeben sind. Die Arten, die dort leben, werden durch intensive Landwirtschaft bedrängt und von der Wüste, die Pestizide und Düngemittel aus der umgebenden Landschaft machen. Scheinbar natürliche Bereiche werden so für Arten lebensfeindlich, weil sie dort keine Insekten und Blumen, keine Nahrung und keinen Schutz mehr finden. Sie suchen sie also woanders, vor allem in den Städten, die für sie zu neuen Lebensräumen werden. Dank der Nährstoffe, die sie liefern, und der Wälder, der Felder und der renaturierten Flächen, die oft bis ins Zentrum und in die Parks reichen. So wurde Berlin zur wilden Hauptstadt Europas.
Berlin is not clean. Berlin has wild gardens. Berlin lost many gardeners. Berlin lost buildings. Berlin lost streets. And the nature is coming back. It's not clean city. And that's the reason. That's the reason, because it's a chance for the plants and the animals to come back. That's Berlin. It's a big country, more than 890 square kilometers. It's very, very big, you know. And more than 40% of our city is green, forest, water. It's crazy. So we have many, many animals, small one and big one. Biggest are maybe wild boar or fox or raccoon. And they are not only living in the neighborhoods, they are also living in the city center. It's interesting because the wildness, the spectre is not really for the animals. It is for 3.5 million people who don't understand what happened. For the most people, the animals are living outside, but it's not true. They are living inside. And the people have to remark that they are not alone. So I have to look for the animals and have maybe to talk to the people. 20 years ago, there were some raccoons, maybe 10 or so. And now every day we get telephone call for about 10, 20 raccoons. So from my opinion, we have more than 1,000, 1,500. First of all, I have to control the situation between a human and animal. And sometimes something is wrong, like here. Here's a family of raccoon who's very close to the people. They get food every evening, so they have no distance. And yesterday there was a family here with a child, and the raccoons are coming too close to the child. And we have problems with people who give them food because of the losing distance. You heard it? It's not possible to control the raccoons, but it's important to talk with the people on which they have problem with raccoons, because many people think that the animal lost her home. They are homeless because they lost the forest. But the raccoons and other animals are very clever. They know that the forest is not their home. The home is the city. They come out of the landscape in which there's no chance to live. The agriculture. Agriculture is a dead culture. For most people, if they go in the spring outside, they say, oh, it's green, it's great, but if you are an animal, an insect or so, it's no chance to have it. You have no chance to live. Suddenly, the nature was on the door and come in. And that's very important, to talk about the situation and not to fight with the people, but to tell the people the reason. That it is not possible to bring the animals back to the forest. We have to learn, and we need the animals, we need the nature, we need the insects. But a moment, for my opinion, a big chance and a big change, because now the new generation of humans remark that it's not more important to have big streets, big cars, but it's more important to have the nature inside.
Die Zukunft der Natur Berlins liegt in der Erkenntnis, dass auch städtische Räume nicht mehr nur den Menschen gehören, sondern auch den Arten, die er selbst gezwungen hat, sich eine neue Heimat zu suchen. Die Städte werden zu Stationen für die Tiere und Pflanzen, die noch in den wenigen unberührten Gebieten des Kontinents Zuflucht finden und die nicht weit weg sind. In Richtung Osten kehrt mehr und mehr der ursprüngliche europäische Wald zurück. der sich von Portugal bis zur östlichsten Spitze des Kontinents erstreckte. Man sagt, dass ein Eichhörnchen den Kontinent durchqueren konnte, ohne jemals den Boden zu berühren. In Białowieża in Polen ist noch ein kleiner Teil dieses seltenen Lebensraumes erhalten. Ein unberührter Wald, der bereits verschwundene Arten beherbergt wie den europäischen Bison. Ein Ort, an dem sowohl die alten Bäume als auch die Mikrolebensräume ökologische Prozesse aufrechterhalten, die seit Jahrtausenden unverändert sind. Białowieża wird jedoch von Bränden, der Landwirtschaft und vor allem von der sinnlosen Abholzung der Wälder bedroht. Der letzte stand 2017 im Zentrum einer großen politischen Schlacht. Nicht nur das Herz von Białowieża muss geschützt werden, sondern auch die äußeren Ränder und die wertvolle Verbindung zum Rest Europas, damit von dort als eine der Seelen des Kontinents die Renaturierung Europas ausgehen kann.
The last temperate zone, lowland forest, was left, more or less not destroyed. The magic thing of this forest is that you can go just 500 meters out of your house and you can meet the rarest woodpecker in Europe, or pygmy owl, or wolf, or bison. It's of course very connected, both Białowieża and bison, because both are lucky that they survive humans. Here it's like 700. It's the biggest herd in the world. But the bison is super rare. It's like, 6,000 bisons in the world. But they are, super animals. They're like you look out your window and you feel like Neolithic guy. The estimations are telling that in this 100 years, they cut like 80% of such a big trees what they were here. And then suddenly, those guys, they came in 2015, I think, to the power, and in 2016, little bit they start cutting, and in 2017 was just craziness. They said that the bark beetle is destroying the forest, and they just came with harvesters, and they just cut like 200,000 cubic meters, which means like 6,000 lorries with the wood. So they destroy a lot of nice virgin forest on the other side of river. I was super sad. I was sad and angry. The forest doesn't need management. No. This is what you need to do, it's just to leave alone. Leave it. Just leave it and it will, will grow itself. In Europe, we need to have a more Białowieża. What's just to decide to leave it. Forest, river, marshes, just leave it.
Hinter Białowieża hört der Wald nicht auf, sondern wird dichter. Hinter dem Baltikum wird er nur von den zahlreichen Seen und vereinzelten Städten unterbrochen. Es wirkt unendlich grün, aber in vielen Fällen ist es nur eine Illusion von Natur. Es handelt sich um Plantagen und nicht um Wälder. Tausende von Bäumen, die nicht älter als 50 oder 60 Jahre werden. Viel zu wenig, um zu einem lebendigen und funktionierenden Ökosystem zu werden. Hier und da sind die ursprünglichen borealen Wälder aber noch erhalten. Uralte Lebensräume, die in einigen Fällen seit 5.000 oder 6.000 Jahren ohne Unterbrechung bestehen. Eine Kontinuität, die das Überleben einer in Europa einzigartigen biologischen Vielfalt sichert. Es handelt sich um stark bedrohte Wälder. Die Gefahren sind der Klimawandel, Brände, aber vor allem die intensive Ausbeutung, verursacht durch fehlendes Bewusstsein und eine besorgniserregende Ignoranz. Jahrtausende alte Wälder werden oft abgeholzt, bevor sie als solche erkannt werden. Es ist wichtig, diese Wälder zu kennen und sie zu schützen, bevor es zu spät ist. Denn diese Zerstörung gefährdet nicht nur die Biodiversität, sondern auch das Überleben der Samen, dem letzten indigenen Volk Europas, das in direkter Verbindung mit diesen Ökosystemen lebt. Mit den alten Wäldern werden auch die Rentiere verschwinden und das empfindliche Gleichgewicht, das indigene Völker mit der Natur erreicht haben. Eine Lektion der Koexistenz, die ein Europa, das verzweifelt versucht, die eigenen Lebensräume zu retten, lernen muss. Eine Koexistenz, die hier noch erhalten ist, am Tor zur Arktis, wo unsere Reise endet.
We are in a ancient pine forest with trees which are in between, let's say, everything from 80 years up to maybe 500-600 years of age. This type of forest is very, very rare to see in the Swedish landscape nowadays. And this is the type of forest that we actually started clear-cutting in the 1950s. Here we have a small species of a fungus called Chatoderma luna, which is a red-listed species. And you can only find it on this type of wood. This species needs more than many hundreds of years to recreate this type of wood where this species can grow. To get this species to survive in the landscape or in the forest, we need to have natural forests. So it's quite an amazing indicator of high biodiversity in the pine forests. This ecosystem is something special. And we have, of course, species here which are not found anywhere else in Europe. What else can you say? This is like heaven for a biologist. This tree might be hollow because it seems to be a forest fire scar on the backside here, or some kind of scar. So, but we'll try to drill it. Yeah, this tree is about 400 years old, even more maybe. Well, this type of forest or this type of pine forest has been evolved in this area probably for the last 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 or 7,000 years. And that continuity of forest on this ground has developed a special ecosystem. And you cannot recreate that by planting a tree. That's totally impossible, because then you have to see for or see to that this planted tree gets the chance to be 300, 400, 500 or 600 years old. And we don't do that.
Precis, så får de kakna dem. Och det kommer lavarna. För nu är de undertryckta med andra.
Exakt.
Ja.
All the indigenous people see forest and nature in another way, in another perspective. I mean, in my culture we have never seen ourselves as owner over something, because we do not own the forest. I can see a pattern that we lose touch to nature, and it's sad what what will happen to nature and society when my culture is gone. As you can see here, this has been a logged area, of course. I mean, this is the worst case scenario for us. It was a forest where we could graze our reindeers. This was a very important area. This was old growth forest. These trees had plenty of lichen on the trees, hanging lichen. And that is key for our reindeers. This was a place where there was life. And as you can see now, it's dead empty. We are trying to hold against the forestry as much as we can, but of course they want to take every spot that are available. Worst case scenario, if they keep on logging at the same pace that they are doing, I mean, all the old growth forest would look like this. There will be no old growth forests, and we will not be able to herd our reindeers. The culture will die with it.
It's crazy. It would be like illegal if you would like think about what damage we do to the biodiversity and the ecosystem and for our coming future generations of human beings. This is the most crucial time, I think, because now we have the knowledge, we have the science telling us the scientific facts of how everything is connected or interconnected. If you follow the forest from southern parts of Europe, the Mediterranean forests, up to the polar forests, you have a variety of ecosystems who are somehow interconnected to each other. So we need to protect 30% of the mountains, 30% of the forests, 30% of the marshlands, 30% of the peatlands. In that way we can maybe save the ecosystem of every nature type. I would say that this is the last chance to do it. This is the last chance for man to stop the destruction of natural ecosystems. We had the chance 50 years ago, we had the chance 30 years ago, we had the chance maybe 10 or 15 years ago, but after this we won't have a chance anymore. We should actually protect maybe half Earth for the nature itself. I think it's a very nice idea. So we human beings can start to understand how we could be sustainable on the other half. That would be my dream, of course, but it's a long way to go.